365 Days of Horsemanship, day 92 and 93. Apologies for my day 91 video, which cuts off in the middle. My phone ran out of battery. Total bummer. Yesterday was kind of the same sort of vibe. Came up and did some massaging and a little bit of work with haltering with Lawrence, which was going quite well. And went and spent some time with Mia. And again, it's just putting those hours of flow in where I'm just being with her and being in that same state as her and just flowing along together. Definitely, again, like short sessions, like a pretty short session yesterday. I was only just really dipping in, and then today I've been on a long shift, 12-hour shift, so just popping in again. I've got a long drive tonight because I'm not staying at home today. So yeah, I just popped in again. And I think it's going okay. I'm definitely still struggling with the plateau thing. It's just really difficult for me. It's just really difficult. It's a really big challenge for me to just come and do the same thing every day and just not feel burnt out. Like, just even after 1 or 2 days, I just already am I don't know, I think bored is the wrong word. Like, it's almost uncomfortable for me to have to do the same thing too many times. I don't know. I think definitely my vices are that I'm impatient and that I get bored easily. And I don't feel bored. I think I just feel like it's like this sense of discomfort that I just have to wait and keep doing the same thing. Because I think I just have that desire for the instant result, to see the progress. And actually, when I think about it logically, I can see progress. Today I came up and I came to Mia first, and she looked up at me. She acknowledged me initially, then she went to grazing, and I was just being in flow with her. And I wasn't really even concentrating on her too hard. I was just thinking about my own stuff, still thinking about my personal journey and where I'm going and what I'm doing and how I feel about everything and the horses and all of it. And so I was concentrating, but I wasn't concentrating that hard, and I wasn't completely in time with her. There was like a half-second gap between her moving and me moving. But, after probably less than 5 minutes, she looked up at me and asked me to scratch her, and so I did. And actually, when I look back on when I started this project, where we were compared to now, that's actually a huge improvement. That's huge, that just 5 minutes in flow with me and she wants to engage with me for something. That's huge. That's really big. So actually, I think it is, important for me to appreciate that. The problem is even though I can acknowledge that, it doesn't feel fast enough. It doesn't feel good. I'm not getting that reward that's great enough out of it. And I definitely think that part of that is training myself to enjoy those things and to acknowledge them and to accept the journey. With Lawrence, he had a nice massage today on his right hind. And he really got into that. And then when I went to leave, he followed me. And I definitely think at the moment, like, he could have like much longer massages. He would be happy with that. At the moment, I just feel like it's too much for me. Like, I'm burnt out of it because we've done so much of it. I didn't play with the whole stay because I didn't have time. But I think that I should feel grateful for that too. That these short sessions that I'm doing with him, sometimes it's enough for him and he's like, yeah, that's fine. But often now, he wants more. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's good for me to, and I do sometimes, when he'll ask for more, I will sometimes stay and give him more. And sometimes I won't. And today I didn't. But he came and he looked at the fence line for me for a while I was filming this. He's just walking away now. But I think it's good. I do think that's good. I think leaving the horse where they want you to come back again the next day, they're excited to see you, is a good thing. I think I definitely find it hard to not give him everything he wants right now, and I feel guilty about that. But I don't think that's really realistic of me, and I don't think it's also really healthy for our relationship. I definitely think there's a middle ground, and I think that, had I have had the time, then the perfect thing to do would be to start playing with the halter. And again, that's a really great place to be. It's really great that I'm sitting here thinking, man, if I just had more time today, or I just wasn't so tired, then I could have asked him questions about things I want to happen. Like, there is enough curiosity and interest and desire for my presence that he's happy to accept a little bit of discomfort to continue interacting with me. And that's really big, because when I started this project, we were in a place where I didn't really know if we were ever going to be able to play together again, and he wasn't, listening to me really, and he was kind of ignoring me. And so that's really huge as well. That's a big improvement. And I think I definitely am allowing negative self-talk and negative self-thoughts to get in my way a lot at the moment. And it's really holding me back. I think I have this idea in my head, because I've been doing horses for 15 years. And I grew up in the riding school. And when I was in the riding school, I was never put on the really nice horses. And it was always because I wasn't good enough. Or at least that's kind of how it felt, or how I perceived it. And, then I got my first horse, and he was old and he was injured, and he only had one eye. And so we couldn't do everything that all the other people could do, because he was old and injured and half blind. But we did a lot, and we mostly did, psychology stuff, and worked on trauma, and learnt how to communicate when we've only got one eye and feel okay about it. And, I remember walking him to the field, and the traffic was on his blind side, and I remember singing to him so he wouldn't be so scared. And then he died, and I played with another horse for a while, and then I bought Lawrence. And again, with Lawrence, he had physical issues, he had mental issues. I was in a very different place in my life then, and we both were struggling with a lot of, I think, past trauma. And it was a journey for both of us, I think, where we did a lot of healing, and I got to know him, and I got to know myself. And then I came here to work here, and I really learned for the first time really how to look after a horse properly, really how it should be, and how to make the best of what you have, and how to take care of the land, and how to, take care of the feeding, and all of those things that I learned here for the first time properly, rather than just kind of doing what everybody else was doing, learned to make my own decisions about it, and learn what was out there. But at no point during that journey, I think, have I ever gotten to a place where I really felt like I knew what I was doing. And then I think I had that for a little while with Mia. I think last year I had that a little bit with Mia, and that sort of culminated in, I think, Ben Atkinson's clinic last year, which was amazing. And we were doing all this amazing stuff I'd never done before, and working with like finesse and dressage work and contact and all of these things. And it felt good, and it felt promising. And then I, went off to have my knee operation, and realized how much of the relationship I'd messed up to achieve those goals. And now I'm here. And I think this idea that I have in my mind that I've somehow wasted the last 15 years, or that I've not somehow learned everything that I should have learned by now, or I've not learned enough, or obviously I'm just not good enough. You know, obviously the only reason that I don't know everything by now after 15 years, I'm not, you know, I compare myself to, you know, instructors and really people who've spent, you know, thousands of pounds working with some of the best horsemen in the world, some of the best horse masters, people I've not worked with. But I compare myself to them and I say, well, they're here, they're over there, and I'm not. And that must be because I'm not good enough. That must be because I'm never going to make it. That must be because I don't know what I'm doing. And I'll never get there. And I think that sense of time urgency that, you know, I've had 15 years and I haven't made it yet. I haven't got where I want to be. I don't even know where I want to be. I don't even know where I want to be. There's still so much out there to, you know, learn and explore and experience. I've never, you know, ridden a schoolmaster consistently. You know, I've never competed in any of the equestrian sports. Like, there's so much stuff that I've never done. So much stuff I've never experienced. And I think, you know, I've allowed this pressure of like, well, you've been doing it for so long and you've never got there, to now make me feel like every day that I'm not doing something amazing isn't amazing. And actually it is, because it creates over time these big changes. Like, little changes over time create these big changes. But I am really stuck in this cycle where I don't feel confident, I don't feel good about what I'm doing. And it's hard. It's really hard to be in that place, for sure. And it's hard to talk about it too. You know, it'll be scary posting this one, for sure. For sure. But I think it's important. I think it's important to be open and honest about how it feels to be in the situation I'm in, how I feel, and to try to find solutions, to admit that's the problem and to try to find solutions. I've definitely been thinking a lot today about like intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation being something you do because it makes you feel good on the inside, and it's not anything to do with the outside world or the environment or what you might gain from it in any other way. Whereas extrinsic motivation is like the reward of the ego. So like for me, when I feel like I'm having a conversation with Lawrence and his attention is entirely focused on me and he's not really concerned about anything else other than what we are currently doing at that moment, that for me is very intrinsically rewarding, to feel like in that moment I have that connection with him. It's also very intrinsically rewarding for me when I feel like I've provided some kind of comfort or enjoyment. When I see enjoyment in the horses, that's very rewarding for me. Extrinsically, I feel rewarded when I think about teaching or talking to people or explaining things to people. That's like an intrinsic motivator for me. I feel like reward in the idea of either imagining doing that or doing it in real life. Like advice giving, stuff like that. Partially because I think it feeds my ego, and partially because I feel like if I'm confident in what I'm saying, then I feel like I'm doing something good for the world and for horses and for the people that I'm speaking to. So deciding then which path to take is quite tricky, because I want it to be something, I want to feel like I'm moving in the right direction for what I really want, for what's really going to make me happy. And trying to work out which things I am desiring from an intrinsic perspective versus an extrinsic perspective is really tricky. Definitely. So yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one, this one. I think I'm just going through a whole bunch of mindset changes. So I hope this stuff's still interesting to you. I definitely feel like it's taking a really introspective turn at the moment. But, you know, I can't sit here and talk to you guys about stuff that isn't real. You know, I can't sit here and like go into the minutiae of like every step that the horses took today if that wasn't really what the session was about for me, and that wasn't really what I learned today as a horseman, or what I was thinking about today as a horseman. So I hope it's still interesting for you guys. I always have to bring it back to the fact that, you know, I'm doing this for me first and foremost, and secondly for everybody else. And this is what I need, and this is what's helping me in my own journey. So I'm excited to see what comes out of it, and I'm excited that I'm journaling the journey. I'm excited that I'm recording the journey. It'll be interesting to look back on this, I think, you know, in a year when I've come through all this, or in another 93 days. It'll be interesting to look back on this and think, wow, I was there then and I didn't know that I was going to be here now. So yeah, I got to break out of the cycle. I feel like I've been in this cycle for too long and I need to break out.